Hello everyone. So welcome to this session for today. I really welcome you to and I'm really appreciate that you joined today's webinar. I hope the webinar would be valuable for you. So just a brief introduction of me. My name is Jannat and I am the Executive Secretary at ISRK and I'll be the host for you for today's webinar. So as you all know already that today's webinar is related to the guidance for permanent residency. So it's basically you're going to get some information about how you can how you can transition from an E3 visa holder to an F-5 visa holder. That's for permanent residency. So without any further delay, I think we can start. But let me give you a brief introduction about ISRK. So I hope most of you already know about ISRK or you got to know about this webinar through ISRK's social media handles. But let me give you a brief introduction. So ISRK was founded in 2019. It stands for the Indian Students and Researchers in Korea. So it's a voluntary organization which is basically working for the Indian community in South Korea. So we organize a lot of events like today's events. We organize cultural events in the field of sports as well as educational events, um, which basically focuses on creating awareness about the Indian culture, the Indian community in South Korea for enhancing the cultural exchange between the two cultures and also providing support to the Indian community in South Korea. Apart from that, we also work in collaboration with the Indian Embassy in South Korea sometimes, and also with NID, the National Institute of International Education Department of Korea. So that was a brief introduction about ISRK. I hope to see you all in future events as well. And we would really appreciate if you stay in touch with ISRK and follow us on our social media handles. For Instagram, you can follow us at the rate Team ISRK, and you can also find us on Facebook and also join our the WhatsApp group for ISRK. So, once again, thank you for joining today's event and let's start the event today. So, for today's event, we have invited a special speaker who will be guiding you through the entire process. So, let me welcome Mr. Dr. Virendra Chituri. He is a researcher at Lab AM24 and he also recently got his F-5 visa. So he was a researcher. He was on his E3 visa and he transitioned to F-5 visa. As you know, E3 visa is for the researchers who are practicing in South Korea, and if and F-5 is for the permanent residentship. So I think he will be a valuable resource in guiding you through the entire process on how you can transition from an E3 visa to F-5 visa. So I hand over this platform to Dr. Virendra.
Okay, thank you, Jenna, for the introduction. So I'll share my screen and let me know if it's visible. Then I think it's quite visible. Everyone is able to see my screen, right?
Yes, it's visible, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. So it's a big word anyway. My name is Virendra. I'm working as a researcher in Daejeon. Then the name of the company is LabM24. Today I'll give you the information about how to get a permanent residency in Korea, and through my experience and through my friends' experience and the people that I've supported and guided. A little bit of information here and there. Before that, let me briefly introduce myself. I am from Hyderabad in India, and I've done my PhD from Malaysia, from University Technology Petronas. Then I worked as a researcher at a government institute called Korea Institute of Material Science in Changwon for 3 years, and now I'm working as a researcher in Lab M24. So the main purpose of this session is to provide like how to get your permanent residency from E3. So uh, E3 visa is for researchers with a PhD and without a PhD as well. But today I'll be talking about researchers with who are on E3 with a PhD. So and how to get your permanent residency with an E3 visa. So basically, in this course, you'll learn about like benefits of having an F5, what are the all categories of F5 visa, and having a PhD from Korea and having a PhD from abroad, and what are the eligibility criteria and step by step application process, and what are the common tips from my experience and based on that. What is an F5 visa and permanent residency in Korea? So basically, F5 is nothing but permanent residence. Permanent residence in Korea is like green card in the US. So and the card is in green as well. So it's called a green card in Korea as well. Indefinite stay, you'll be able to live in Korea without any time limits. And if you're outside of Korea, if you want to leave Korea, you can leave Korea and you'll be able to stay like 2 years outside of Korea after you get your permanent residency. And for every 10 years, you need to renew your permanent residency, I guess. That's just renewing your photo and biometrics. Apart from that, you'll be able to stay without any limits. Freedom to work. If you're on E3 visa, so your visa is connected to your employer, whether it's university or research institute or you're working at a company, your visa is connected to your employer. So if you want to change from one employer to another employer, you need to do all the process to get your renew your visa again. So you wouldn't be if you have an F5, you don't have to do that. Unemployment benefits. So you'll be I think everyone is aware of like all the four types of insurances that we pay in Korea, right? National pension, health insurance, employment insurance, and the other insurance is workers insurance. Like if you get injured at your workplace, then you'll be insured as well. But if you're on E3 visa, you are only paid for two of those insurances by your company, which is national pension and other is health insurance. Employment insurance and the workers health hazard insurance are not paid. If you're an F5, your employer will pay those two as well. So then you'll be having all four the insurances. And once you lose your job, based on your time period that you have paid your employment insurance, you'll be able to get benefits from the government in terms of monetary fund. Like let's say if you for the past 18 months, if you have paid employment insurance for 180 days, then you're eligible to get unemployment benefits from the government. The unemployment benefits can range from 3 months to 6 months, depends on how long you have been paying the employment insurance. So it's usually 60% of your last drawn salary. So you'll be able to get for 6 months if you're unemployed, and if you're looking for a job, that's one more benefit. And after 3 years on F5, you'll be able to vote in the local elections. You'll not be able to vote in the general elections, but you'll be able to vote in the mayor elections and everything. And family sponsorship as well. You can if you're married and you have kids, you can sponsor your spouse as well. And on F2 for F23, but after, I think, I'm not exactly sure, if your spouse is on F23 for like 3 years, then she or he is eligible for F5 after 3 years, I guess. I'm not exactly sure about the time period, but yeah, mostly around 3 or 4 years, I guess. And citizenship. So if you want to have a naturalization, if you want to like get a Korean citizenship, F5 can be the path. So it doesn't with F5 and PhD in high tech field. So there is also a special program that has been introduced by the Korean government to get a special naturalization. So based on your patents or research publications and your research, if your research is really important for the Korean government, there is also a speed track for applying for citizenship. Apart from the naturalization, where you have to stay for 5 years. You don't have to clear KIP level 5 and all of those. So that's one more benefit if you get a F5 visa through having a PhD in Korea or from abroad. So what are it's not just one single way of applying F5 visa. F5 is permanent residency. You can get it in different ways. If you have a PhD, if you don't have a PhD, so there are multiple ways of getting F5. So like around 27 or 28 ways. Among those, I have listed some of them. Like one is general long-term resident F51, which is considered if you are staying in Korea for 5+ years and you have transited from a student, then F27, then F5. For this is a point-based visa. You'll have to have Korean language of level 5 or level 6, something like that. Then F52 is one more thing. If you're married to a Korean, then you'll be able to get F6, and from F6 then you'll be able to get F5. Then highly skilled or investors, if you are investing like around 500 million Korean won, then you'll be able to get easy visas like F5 in large investor categories. And F511, if you are considered like special talent by the Korean government, then you're able to get through it F511. And F512 is one more category. But today we'll be focusing on two things where you will be able to get F5 visa if you have a PhD either in Korea or from abroad, which is if you have a PhD from abroad, it's called F59. If you have a PhD from Korean university, it's called F515. So let's go through those things because that's what I want to focus on today. If I have to focus on every single F5 visa, then it will take like hours and hours to explain each and every category. So the thing that I have experience with is getting a F5 through F59, which is having a PhD from abroad university, and both mostly F59 and F515 are similar in terms of PhD. So let's see what's F5, how to get an F, what are the documents that are needed for F59 and what are the documents that are needed for F515. So before moving on to the documents, who is F59 for? Foreign nationals with a PhD in high tech and STEM fields. So these high tech and STEM fields, if you go to High Korea website, which is the immigration website, there you'll be able to download a form. And these high tech and STEM fields, there are like around 400 categories which can be described as PhD in STEM field. Mostly, if you have IT in any of the engineering field, I think you are good enough to say that you have a PhD in high tech or STEM field, and currently employed full time in Korea. So full time in Korea means you're working 40 hours a week. So that is what considered as full time in Korea. And you should be working like more than 1 year. That is the number one criteria. You should complete 1 year of employment in Korea as a full time employee, which is 40 hours a week. And for this, you don't have to have any Korean language. There is no topic requirement. There is no KIP requirement as well. The only requirement is you need to have a PhD in STEM, and the second requirement is I'm working in Korea for more than a year. And income requirement. So every year, Korean government releases what is the gross national income of the previous year. So you should be able to match that. The last year it was roughly around 50 million, so your salary should be around 50 million. I think for the next year it will be released around in March. I think it would be around 52 or 53 million, I guess. So that should be shown like in your tax requirements. So let's say what are the examples of high tech fields like IT, biotechnology, nanotech. So mostly any of the engineering fields or any of the science fields. Like I said, there are like 400 categories where you can get a PhD from. So I think it shouldn't be that of a matter. And a full-time regular job. So for this, you need a document from your employer saying that you're working 40 hours a week, which is considered as full-time work in Korea. If you're working like 32 hours or 35 hours a week, so that is not considered as a full-time job. So you should be working 40 hours a week, which is considered as full-time job in Korea. So to put in brief, the three major requirements are having a PhD in STEM. The second is working more than 1 year as a full-time employee. The third requirement is match your salary matching the GNR of Korea. These three are the main requirements. If you have these three, then consider your job is done and you're eligible for F5. Then in the next slides, we'll see what are the detailed documents that are needed to apply for F5. So F515. So if you're F5, the only difference between F59 and F515 is in F59 your PhD should be from STEM fields, but for F515 your PhD doesn't have to be from STEM fields. Your PhD can be from any of the Korean university in any field. So it doesn't have to be in exactly STEM or high tech fields. Your PhD can be in linguistics or something like that. Then you're eligible as well. And the other two requirements are same. You should be employed for more than a year, and as well as your income should be more than the GNI of Korea, equal or more than GNI of Korea. And the other thing with having a PhD in Korea is if you're a GK scholar or KGSP scholar, then you don't have to match your GNI. So that's one more exemption that you can get if you're a GK scholar. If you are a KGSP scholar, you can go into those details. If you call immigration 1345, you'll get details about like whether you should match your GNI or not. So these two are the main things. If you're a GK scholar or if you're a KGSP scholar, then you don't have to match the GNI. If not, if your PhD is like professor funded or something like that, then you have to match the GNI. Then other conditions, you should have completed and general. It should not be a like distance PhD. It should be under a regular program. This uh, while you're on D2 visa, and 1 year of full-time work. Like if you're shifting from one company to another company, let's say you work like 6 months at one company, then you move from one company to another company, make sure that the gap between the two jobs is less than 30 days. Then you are the same for F59 as well. If you're shifting from one company to another company, the gap should between two jobs should be less than 30 days. That's one more criteria. So I have categorize the documents into different categories, like what are the documents, what are the personal documents that you needed, what are the student documents that are needed, and what are the financial documents that are needed, what are the miscellaneous documents that are needed. We'll start with like the basic personal documents that are needed to gather for your F5 application. All of this list is available on High Korea website, but I've made it a little better that looks from the website. So these are the things: application form, passport, obviously, and ARC and passport size photos and basic information sheet. This F5 application form that you can download from High Korea. Then educations and qualifications. Once you're in your PhD diploma apostille, if you're in Korea, then obviously all of your documents are apostille. But maybe if you're like living like from long ago, I have met friends who came here like 7 or 8 years ago. They at that time there was like no need for apostille documents and stuff. So but now if you're applying for F5, make sure all of your documents are apostille. And if you have a Korean PhD, your original diploma or certificate of graduation. Mostly academic transcript. These are not required. They will not ask. These are not mentioned, but just in case, just keep them as a safe. Then proof of expertise for F59. So this if you are applying for F59, so your PhD is in F5, some kind of high tech field, right? So you should be able to show that your 1 year of employment is based on your PhD. If you are not totally working on a different, like let's say you have a PhD in mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, and your job should be closely related to what your PhD was in. Let's say my PhD was in mechanical engineering, and my job was in material science. But in my PhD, I have done some of the material science, so I was able to relate my job to my PhD, saying that I was working with some kind of microstructure and everything by showing a proof of papers. So that's one thing that you have to add as a document, proof of expertise. This is optional, but in like there are like 15 mandatory set of documents. This is not considered one of the mandatory document, but it helps. These are the main important documents that you have to get. Employment documents, certificate of employment document, which is called Jejik Jung Jungmyeonso. You'll get this from your employer, and in this, you it should be stating like your position, start date, and that you're a full-time employee. Your full-time employee, if you are considered as a full-time employee, if you are working 40 hours a week, so your employment contract should say that you're working 40 hours a week, and copy of your contract and appointment letter showing terms of employment. Again, being full-time is really mandatory. Why I am concentrating on full-time employee because I'm not sure how it works in universities. Generally, I was working at a research institute. So, and in my first year of research institute, it was not a full-time employment. I was working on a commission. I don't know. Even though I was working full-time, it was considered, my employment contract said I was working only 35 hours a week. So that's not considered as full-time employment. So then I told my boss everything related to F5, so I should be considered as a full-time employee. So that means I should be working 40 hours a week, so which is considered as full-time employment contract. Make sure that is clearly mentioned on your employment contract. And the other thing, company's business registration certificate, you will be able to get it from your HR. It shouldn't be a problem. And for major insurances, enrollment certificate. If you're on E3, you're only uh, if you're on E3, you're only on national pension and health. These two doesn't, like workers compensation and employment insurance, these two are not for us. Once you get your F5, then you're able to get like all the four insurances. But once you're on E3, you're only on national pension and health. And you can download the document from 4insure.or.kr. The document is available at this website. You can go and you can download your, it's called Sadebohum, so you can download from this website. And on this website, it should clearly mention, your document should clearly mention that it will mention national pension, you're covered under national pension and health insurance. And coming to financial documents, proof of income to satisfy the GNI income requirement. So if you're applying this year until March, then your GNI should be equal to the previous year's GNI, which is 50 million won, and you can get from your income certificate, which you can download from government24.com. And also you can get it from your employer as well, so that's required. But if you are applying after March, then your GNI should be like around 52 or 53 million. Then if there is any other extra document regarding your income, the immigration department will ask you for the extra document. And tax payment records. So if you're working for more than 2 or 3 years, like you have to give your certificate of tax payment for all the years, like 3 years or 4 years, whatever it is. You can easily download it from it. There's nothing to worry about this document. If you sign in with your Kakao Talk or anything on Government 24 website, then all of your information is already there. So you can get that document and arrange. Then accommodation documents, you need your residence of proof. So let's say I'm living in Daejeon, so I need to have contract, my house contract in Daejeon, because I'll be applying to the immigration which is located in Daejeon. You'll not be able to apply in another immigration like in Seoul or some other where. So wherever your house lease is contracted, that is where you have to apply for your F5. And let's say if your spouse is living with you and if she or he want to apply on your basis, then both of you have the same address. Then if you are listed on someone else's lease, then provide the confirmation of residence. This can be notarized from any of the local lawyer that is nearby your dong. Then that should be a problem. These are the accommodations documents that you require. And these are not mandatory documents, these are like very supporting documents. There is a personal questionnaire about like why do you want to live in Korea, what makes to what is your plan for Korea, something like that. So you can give your personal statement that why do you want to live in Korea, what's your plan for Korea, and something like that. Then you have to pay immigration processing fee of 30,000 won. And in by any case, if your visa is rejected, this is not the refundable. And another important document is reference letter. So you have to get a guarantee of identity from either a Korean national or a person who has an F5. So I while I was applying, I got it from my boss. So There is a document that is available on High Korea website. You can download the documents and fill in all the information, and you get it signed by your boss or any other person who already has an F5. And criminal background check. Generally, if you're applying on E3, this is not required for F59 or F515, because while applying for E3, you might have already submitted your PCC, so you don't have to submit your criminal background check again. Do we need Korean language? Absolutely no. You don't have, you even if you are unable to read Hangul, then it's okay. You don't have to know the ABCDs of Korean at all. You if even if you're at level 0, that's okay. You don't need a Korean language at all. While when I was applying, I was barely able to read anything in Korean. So you don't really need any Korean language if you have a PhD. That's the main advantage. So if you have all the documents, then this is the basic eligibility check that you need to do. So whether you have a PhD or not, 1 year of work is completed, if your GNI is equal to Korea's GNI or not. If you have these three requirements, then other documents are the basic things that you can get from different websites and from your employer and other things, so you can get them easily. So make sure that you're applying at least 6 months before your E3 expires, because the timeline of getting F5 from the date you apply generally takes from 6 months to 18 months based on at which immigration office you're applying. So if your E3 is ending and if your application is still under approval, then there is a chance that it might get rejected because you're no longer living in Korea and you are no longer considered resident of Korea. And if you're not quite sure, then there is another path, like first applying for F27, which is a long-term residency visa for 3 years. So if you are qualified for F5, then you might have already qualified for F27. So if you're not really quite sure if you're going to extend your contract or not, then you can shift from F27 first. Then on that, then you can apply for F5. That's one major criteria that you have to make sure that at least there is 6 months of validity of your visa. So once you have all the documents, make sure all the documents are notarized, apostille. You get documents from your employer, documents from all the government websites like Forinsure, government24.com, and also get a reference letter from your boss or any other person who has an F5 visa who can guarantee you. And as if you have finished your 1 year of employment, then from the next day onwards you are eligible to apply for F5 visa. You don't have to stay for 3 years or 4 years. As soon as your 1 year of employment is finished, from the next day onwards you are eligible to apply for F5. So you can make a reservation on High Korea website, then attend your appointment. It's basic like any other visa that you're applying for E3. So attend your appointment, submit your documents. It might take like around 20 to 30 minutes, and pay the fee. There is no interview for F5 visa, but in general, the officer in charge might ask you a few questions regarding why do you want to have a permanent residency. These are basic questions. Why do you want to stay in Korea? Like what kind of research do you do, how is your job related to your PhD, the basic questions. So even you can take your Korean friend with you if you are like not really sure if the person in charge is capable of speaking English or not. So you can take a Korean friend with you, and she or he can talk on your behalf. That's also acceptable. So processing. The processing time for F5 visas totally depends on the immigration, where the immigration office is located. If it's located near Seoul or Suwon, it takes like, I have heard stories like 1 year, 1.5 year. But if you are living in the more rural areas, I was living in Changwon, which is very rural. There's not much people who are applying for F5. So I got in like 4 months. So that's the basic timeline you can say. While you're applying, the officer usually tells you how long it would take. So usually ranges from 6 months to 18 months. If you plan to change your jobs while your application is under consideration, make sure that the job change is in less than 30 days. And as soon as you change your job, you need to inform the immigration office. And also don't leave Korea for long. This is not mandatory, but if you plan to leave Korea for more than 1 month, then you should be able I think there is no need to inform the immigration office, but there is your national insurance and health insurance might be related to that, so that can get a little bit of trouble in the inquiry. So make sure that you're not gone for long periods. Yeah, if you must change jobs, you have to submit your updated employment letter, and in that you have to say that you're again a full-time employee working 40 hours a week. If you plan to travel, ensure that you're traveling within your validity period, and yes, it remains valid. You can just go out and come in as required. Once everything is done, you will be able to see the status update as approved, and you'll not get any kind of status approval like on High Korea website. There is only start and finish. Once it's approved, you'll get a message from 1345 saying that your F5 is approved and you can go and pick up. And if any extra documentation is needed, the immigration will contact you and they'll ask you for extra documentation. You can either fax them or go in person and submit them. So these are two ways. And yep, once everything is done, you have your F5, celebrate, pop a champagne, and have fun. Then you're eligible to stay in Korea for forever. Let's see. What are the common mistakes generally people do? Insufficient documentation. Make check, final check again and again. Make sure that every single document that is mentioned on the High Korea website is present, and make sure that all of the documents are apostille, and make sure that you have a reference letter. Make sure that your income is not below GNI of that year. But even if then the officer in charge will guide you to submit an updated document. And timing gaps, not having 1 year of employment, make sure that your employment is definitely more than a year. As soon as you move the addresses, this is mandatory, but when you have moved the address, the immigration automatically notifies your change of address, and the processing of your application will be changed from the immigration of your previous stay to the updated address. And many of the people think that we should stay 3 years in Korea, because I have heard from a lot of people, oh, we should stay in at least 3 years in Korea to apply for F5, or we should convert to F27 first, then we have to apply for F5. No, that's not at all needed. All you need is 1 year of full-time employment, and you don't require any Korean language skills. And make sure that you have the same mobile number that you have applied at the time of immigration, because the immigration, that's the main communication between your immigration office and you, if you require like extra documentation. So changing jobs or quitting too soon, this might not be like as easy as possible, because your E3 is generally re- bonded to your employer. So as soon as you change your job, you'll need to update the immigration office. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind. So tips, I wouldn't call these tips. It's like just basic info that you need to keep in mind before applying. Start early and stay organized. Make sure all the documents are ready. It's nice to get advice from who have already secured F5, and make sure that all the documents are ready. And like if you don't speak Korean at all, bring a Korean speaker if needed while applying for F5. That might be helpful. And double check from form details and everything, photocopy and scan everything, and keep everything in PDFs and everything. Whenever needed, you can just submit them and use ISRK as a resource. There are like many Indians who have secured F5, so we can ask anyone from ISRK. You can just message on my WhatsApp group or Telegram, wherever it is, and people here are able to help. The common questions that I've heard from my friends and from my colleagues, while they are applying for F5, they are still in kind of dilemma whether they want to apply for F5 or whether they're qualified or not. So these are the basic questions that I came across, and from those I have I have made into a short FAQ. Do I need to take a Korean language test to apply for F5? No, you don't need Korean language at all. What is the required income threshold in actual numbers? Like I said previously, if you are applying for before 2026 of March, it's 50 million. If you are applying for after 2026 of March, it would be around 52 or 53 million. And if you applied based on your previous year GNI, and your application is still under process, let's say after March 2026 or April 2026, the immigration might ask you for an updated contract of employment or updated GNI as well. What if my contract ends before my F5 is approved? This is a little bit tricky. So, if your F5 is still under consideration, and if your contract ends and you are no longer considered a citizen of resident of Korea, then your F5 automatically gets rejected because you no longer are a resident of Korea. So, make sure you are able to extend your contract, talk to your boss, make a negotiation or something like that. Will obtaining F5 affect my citizenship or home country status? No, F5 is just permanent residency. You are still considered as an Indian. How long do I need to stay in Korea after getting F5? Can it be revoked if I leave? So after getting F5, if you want to leave another country, if you want to leave Korea, you can stay for a maximum of 2 years of time, and for every 2 years, you just need to visit Korea for a day. Then that is hits back again, because if not, then your F5 status can be revoked. Can my spouse and children get F5 immediately as well? They'll not be able to get F5 immediately. So after, they'll be able to change their status from whatever the status they are to F23, and from F23, I'm not exactly sure because I don't have a spouse and a child. So for F23, and from F23, you have to say like around 3 years, I guess. Yeah, 3 years on F23, then they'll be eligible for F5 as well. Could my F5 application be denied? If so, what then? If these three are there with your, like, if your GNI is equal to the GNI of Korea, and if you have a PhD in the required field, and if your employment, full-time employment, is more than a year, your 90% of the job is done. So while you are applying, the immigration officer checks all of these things. If the immigration officer has accepted your application, consider that it's done. It's just matter of time, like whether it's 6 months or 1 year. So mostly if the immigration officer has accepted your application, 90% of the time it's approved. So what are when I was applying for F5, I have no idea where to go for, and I have no information from anyone. Like now I am giving you information on F5 and everything. So I had like literally zero information. So I was googling my way out and asking going through every single website to find out the information about everything. So these three are the main websites that really helped me a lot regarding what are the document required and what is the timeline that is required to apply for F5, like Visas Korea, IMI Korea, and Visa of Korea. So these three are the major websites that help me really a lot with the documentation. So my visa transition time. So I came to Korea in January of 2022 on E3 visa. So that's because I have done my PhD from Malaysia. Then I came to Korea on E3 in 2022, and I applied for uh, oh, sorry, it's not 25. I applied in 24. I applied in 2024 of February, so after 2 years. Because first year I was, like I said before, I was on contract basis, which is 35 hours of work week. Then I got to know I need to be a full-time employee. So in the second year I asked my boss I need to be a full-time employee in order to apply for F5. Then he gave me, luckily, he gave me a full-time employment in my second year. So I applied at the start of third year, like around January or February. I applied, then I got it in 4 months. So I became a permanent resident in 2.5 years, let's say, from the date that I arrived in Korea. Yeah, yeah. 2022 January is when I arrived. Like 24 June is when I got my permanent residency, like 2.5 years exactly. And if you are applying for F5, this is where you can contact me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and if you have any doubts, you can email me at any time. I'm available. I'm happy to help and share information as much as possible, as much as I know. So feel free to ask. If you have any questions, you can ask in the chat. So, and if you don't have any questions, that's fine as well. So I'll open the Q&A session.
Thank you for the information, sir. I have unmuted Sandeep, sir. He had a question. You can go ahead with your question, sir.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so first of all, I like to thank you for the session. It was really informative. And I didn't know much about F5. So my question is a little bit different. It's regarding F27. So when I inquired, they told that a police clearance certificate is required for F27. And I came to know that we can't get it from Indian embassy. So I would like to know whether you have any idea. Should we go to India to get that
I'm not
or
really
something
sure
like that?
about F27
Yeah.
because if you have I don't know what kind
Mm.
of visa that you're on. If you're on some kind of visa, then you might have already submitted your PCC for obtaining that visa, right?
No, no. No, when I came here, I didn't need to apply, submit any PCC.
Yeah, that's so. One
I'm
of
on
my
E1 now. Yeah.
Okay, so one of my colleague is facing this issue as well. If you have not submitted PCC at all, then you need to submit a PCC, and which is from India, not which is not given by the embassy of India in Korea. You have to.
Okay.
So there are some of the states where you can apply online, like Uttar Pradesh. I guess there is an online website where you can apply for PCC, and also
Okay.
Telangana. I guess there is a Telangana DGP website where you can apply for PCC online. You don't have to go in person. But it differs from state to state.
State.
So
Okay.
if you
Understood.
have not submitted PCC at all, then you definitely have to submit PCC, which is issued by your state, and it should be
Mm.
apostille. Then it should get MEA stamp. Then you have to submit it.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Should we go through an agent or direct application is enough? You don't have to go through an agent. It's basic direct application. The only thing is sometimes the immigration officers might not be able to speak English as English. So it would be really helpful if you take a Korean or someone who can speak Korean. That's really helpful. But if you are not really confident enough, you can go through an agent as well. But if you have all the documents, it's pretty straightforward. Collect all the documents, book your reservation and apply.
If someone else has any questions, then you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you and you can directly clarify your doubts and or ask your questions.
Not related to F5. I've been like helping people with F27 and other things as well because I have done a lot of research regarding all of the visas that I can get as soon as I landed in Korea. So I've got quite a good information about like all kinds of visas. So I think if you have any questions, then I might be able to answer as well.
Yeah, hi Virendra. Thank you for the presentation. Do you have information about F516S?
F516S, I think I have information, but like I don't know what specifically do you need about F516S.
Because for F27S visa, they can apply for F516S visa.
Okay.
But I don't know anybody who has applied for this visa, so I don't know any documents or any details about this visa. And there's very little information online.
Like I said, like I have shared you all the three websites that I've used, right? So you can just contact, like, if you don't like really don't have all the documents that you need, you can go through those three websites. They pretty much have everything related to all kinds of FI visas documentation and or documentation. But even if you don't, if the websites doesn't have any kind of documentation, you can contact them, just email them. They are really prompt. They'll send you a list of documents that are needed, and based on that you can proceed.
Okay,
Like
thank you.
Visas Korea and IMI Korea, these two are the websites, and they help really a lot.
I think no one else has any questions for now. As Virendra sir already told, he has linked his socials. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to him anytime in the future as well. And I think we can now wrap up this session. Thank you so much, sir, for the presentation today. I'm quite sure it would have been helpful for so many people. And as he already gave a lot of information, a lot of tips, so you can keep that in mind while preparing for your visa applications. Keep your documents ready beforehand. So I think that's all the valuable information that you got today. Thank you so much, sir, again for joining today's session, and thank you to everyone else who joined today's session. It was really a pleasure having you with us, and I hope to see you all in the next webinar as well. So stay connected with ISRK and hope to see you soon again. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, Janath, for giving me this opportunity, and I hope it's helpful for everyone. And also, even if you don't have any questions in the future, if you have any kind of questions, you can just email me or connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'm also pretty active on IASA WhatsApp group and Telegram as well. If you have any kinds of doubts, you can just ping me and ask me. Also, last working day before the holidays. Okay, guys, have fun. Happy holidays. Sehebuk mani paduseo. See you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.